Has OSHA spoken to indoor air quality and employer liability, or spoken about indoor air quality and employer liability during the pandemic? We're in a community center building, which is in an old school, system's old. We have no control over mechanical ventilation. We can only open windows. So that's interesting. You know, we've all been encouraged to improve air circulation and ventilation, but if you're in a building that's old and you can't do anything about it, are you liable as an employer under OSHA rules and guidelines?
Well, they haven't issued anything specific to that yet, and so whether or not that will come, I don't know. But you're exactly right. A lot of employers are constrained by whatever the building setup is, and I don't think OSHA would ever be in a position of saying to every employer, you have to redo your HVAC system completely. And in fact, I'm not even sure that they really have confirmed a correlation between certain HVAC systems and a lack of spreading of COVID. I'm not sure that they've even made that connection. So I don't, I think it's the same answer as everything else we've said. The employer, in whatever situation they're in, has to show that they did the best that they could do with whatever they have. And I don't think that means, you know, bankrupt yourself to put in an entirely new HVAC system. But I think it means acknowledge that if there is an area where a window can be opened and you can do that, then if that helps, then you should let people do that. Or but the short answer is there's no specific guidance from OSHA on that issue. As far as I know, I'm not in any way an air quality control expert. So, but I think again, it comes back to the general duty requires you to do as much as you can reasonably do to ensure the safety of your people. And so if that means that you open windows and, you know, or you do the best you can do.
And we've talked about, you know, how do you, I don't know how to ask this question, but are you seeing more cases around the country where people are suing their employers because they claim that the employer did not protect them and they caught COVID, when it's how do you really prove, can you prove that you caught COVID at the workplace?
Yeah, I mean, the short answer from, of course, I'm a defense attorney, so my answer is no, you definitely can't. And that's the response to, I mean, I personally have several workers' comp claims now where the claim has been made that I have COVID and I got it in the workplace. And that's exactly the issue, is how are you, the employee, going to prove that you got it here and not from your neighbor or the grocery store or wherever? In terms of the liability cases, I think, you know, the ones that I've seen haven't focused as much on that issue as they have on the safety standards, because I don't think it was a matter of proving that the person got it there. I think it was a matter of you just simply didn't meet the standard for what was the best way to protect all of the employees, knowing that this risk existed. So, and I don't know of any of those cases in Maine right now. It doesn't mean that there aren't any, but I'm not aware of any. I feel like, and I could be wrong about this, that the focus has really, oddly enough, not so much been on litigation, but on like, let's try and get through this, you know, as opposed to blaming everybody, let's just try and figure it out. And it would be nice if that's the way it was, because I think certainly the employers that I have counseled and helped are doing their absolute best to do right by everybody and do the best they can possibly do. I'm sure that that's not, you know, across the board, but I think that everybody is really trying to step up and figure this out together. So that would be the hope, but that's my kumbaya message. And having said that, you know, given what I do, I have no doubt there's going to be significant litigation about this for a long time to come. There's not as much as I would have expected. Let me put it that way.
Interesting. Yeah. What about mask mandates? I mean, it seems we sort of, you know, a month or so ago when we had this conversation, it was a lot about requiring masks, and of course there is a mandate to do so at the state level. Now we're talking more about vaccinations. It's just interesting how this situation has evolved and changed.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because it's very important to remember that nothing about that mask mandate has changed, and that vaccination or no vaccination, you are still required to wear that mask, whether you're in your place of employment or on the street or wherever you are. So neither employees nor employers should think that they're done with that once they're vaccinated. And in fact, you know, I saw in the last couple of days in the news, now they're saying one mask might not be enough. I don't know if you've seen that. Maybe we ought to be wearing 2 masks at the same time. And so I don't know if that's something that is going to come out of these new OSHA directives. And, you know, if it is, we'll just have to work with it. But employers are still charged with also, I think, making sure the masks are adequate. I've still seen news stories about, you know, somebody's got one of those funny looking, like a half plastic mask that doesn't even cover their mouth. And I don't know why anybody thinks those are meeting the standard, but they just don't seem to be. So I think employers still need to be sure that whatever people are wearing is sufficient. In fact, there was a news story about several members of the legislature who had masks on that didn't meet the mandate. So there's that. And then I also just wanted to mention quickly that we don't have any new information about this, but of course the presumption is that the new administration will be proposing, if it may already be part of that package that was just proposed. I don't know, I haven't read it yet, an extension or sort of a renewing of the FFCRA. And so employers are going to need to be prepared in the event that comes back, because it seems like almost a certainty that in some format that will be back.
And we should have new information by the next time we meet with you on the 8th.
I would think so. Yeah. And again, I know that there was the stimulus was proposed already. I haven't read through what's in it. I suspect that may be part of it, but I don't know. And so, but the clear message was we will be re-upping or re-proposing either the exact same thing to start all over again, or at least some version of it.
Okay. Looks like we're
that will be interesting to apply this time, because now we've got intersection not with just with the FMLA and the ADA like we dealt with before, but then now potentially this earned leave law and how that might play into this. And maybe it won't at all, we just don't know.
Yeah. So mark your calendars, February 8th and February 22nd, 3 o'clock. We'll do this again with Anne-Marie, and no doubt we'll have some new information for you as things continue to play out here. Any final words, anything that we want to repeat before we wrap up?
You know, I think it's the same message. You just keep on making sure you're updated with the CDC and the Department of Labor, the Maine Department of Labor, the Maine CDC, on whatever comes out in terms of recommendations and guidelines, and stay tuned, and we'll do our best to keep people updated as well.
And the remote working conversation will continue, no doubt. No doubt.
Yeah, I mean, we could do a whole session just on that, because there's a whole lot to consider, especially if those are going to turn into long-term situations, which it looks like a lot of them are.
Yeah. And if you're interested in that, let us know, and we'll be sure to focus on that as well. So with that, let's wrap up. Thank you so much for joining us again. Anne-Marie Story at Redmond Winchell. Karen Sichters is in the background. Shelley Sun, Bengal Region Chamber Director of Marketing and Events, for producing our event today. Shelley has recorded this, so we'll post it up on Facebook afterwards if you missed any part of it, or you want to share this with anybody with whom you think might be interested. Thank you so much, Anne-Marie. We really appreciate your time today, as always.
Choked through half of it.
No, you're done.
As soon as we're off the air, I'll be totally
fine. You'll be fine now. So thank you so much. We really appreciate your expertise. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Bye.
ladies.